Jaylen Brown and the modern definition of a two-way superstar. At some point, statements stop being talk and start demanding proof. Jaylen Brown reached that point recently, not through words, but through a performance that forced a broader conversation about value, recognition, and what elite basketball actually looks like. Against one of the league's hottest teams and one of the most respected two-way stars of the modern era, Brown delivered a game that reframed how his season and his role should be evaluated. This was not a single hot night built on volume shooting or favorable matchups. It was a controlled, intentional display of dominance on both ends of the floor. Brown entered the matchup fully aware of the stakes. The opponent was riding momentum, playing with confidence, and anchored by a wing defender known for eliminating primary scoring options. Instead of avoiding that challenge, Brown leaned into it. He took responsibility early, both offensively and defensively, setting the tone from the opening possessions. The result was a lopsided outcome that told a deeper story than the final score suggested. Offensively, Brown operated with precision rather than recklessness. His scoring did not rely on transition layups or defensive breakdowns. Instead, it came through difficult jumpers, tight space finishes, and shot creation against set defenses. He scored efficiently without slowing the offense or monopolizing possessions, a balance that is far more difficult than raw point totals often suggest. Defensively, his impact was just as significant. Brown accepted the most difficult perimeter assignment and maintained discipline throughout the game. He contested shots without fouling, navigated screens effectively, and stayed engaged off the ball. The opposing star still produced numbers, great players usually do, but never found rhythm or control. That disruption mattered as much as any basket. This combination is where the discussion shifts. Modern NBA conversations often separate players into offensive engines and defensive specialists, rarely rewarding those who consistently shoulder both burdens. Brown's performance challenged that framing. His value was not simply that he scored a lot or that he defended well. It was that he did both at a high level simultaneously, without sacrificing efficiency, structure, or team flow. That distinction matters. The third quarter of the game became the clearest illustration of this balance. Brown elevated his aggression without forcing the issue. He made difficult shots, yes, but he also read the floor, moved the defense, and created opportunities for teammates when help defenders committed too early. His control of tempo suggested not just confidence, but clarity, an understanding of when to attack and when to facilitate. Those moments rarely show up fully in box scores, yet they define elite two-way play. What makes this stretch of play even more significant is the broader context of the season. Boston entered the year facing uncertainty, having lost major pieces and redefined its rotation. Expectations externally were cautious at best. Internally, the burden shifted quickly to Brown, who became the primary constant amid change. Rather than resisting that responsibility, he absorbed it. His scoring average climbed, but so did his leadership presence. Boston's ability to remain competitive near the top of the conference standings is tied directly to Brown's consistency. He has not simply filled a statistical gap. He has stabilized an evolving roster, allowing new contributors to find roles without chaos. This adaptability is often overlooked in discussions of individual excellence, yet it is one of the hardest skills to develop. Brown's frustration with recognition is understandable, but the deeper issue is structural. The league's awards and narratives tend to reward extremes, the highest scorer, the flashiest playmaker, while undervaluing players who carry layered responsibilities every night. Two-way dominance requires energy, focus, and sacrifice that are difficult to maintain across an entire season. Brown's recent performance was not a demand for attention. It was evidence. There is also an intellectual component to his game that deserves acknowledgement. Brown understands basketball beyond highlight culture. His emphasis on defense, rebounding, versatility, and decision-making reflects a philosophy rooted in winning rather than branding. In an era driven by entertainment metrics, that perspective can feel out of step, but it remains foundational to championship-level basketball. What separates this moment from a typical career-high performance is intention. Brown did not stumble into a historic night. He targeted a challenge, embraced it, and executed with purpose. That approach speaks to a player who sees himself not just as a scorer, but as a complete competitor. As the season continues, consistency will determine how this performance is remembered, but regardless of future outcomes, the message was delivered clearly. Elite two-way play still exists, and it still decides games at the highest level. Jaylen Brown did not redefine himself in that game. He clarified what had already been there. And for anyone still debating his place among the league's most complete players, the answer is becoming harder to ignore